The project that we are working with is all about racism and how this issue is involved with the life of people, different people who are living different places in the world. So for the first question, I wanted to ask that what comes to your mind when you hear the word racism?
The first impression that comes to me is the difference. Actually, I think, racism comes from, of course, differences between different people in the world. And of course, some people think that they are better than others, or they are more handsome or more beautiful than others, and maybe, they know more, maybe. That's, I think, the background or the base of racism, this thought that they think, yeah, we are better, so we have to neglect people who are maybe lower than us in terms of technology or in terms of culture or society. But so the first impression is, of course, difference, and different cultures and different geographical locations. Yeah, that's the first impression for me.
So you have a kind of a neutral approach to it, so it's only differences, or does it have negative or positive tone?
You mean aspects, different positive and negative aspects? Yeah, of course.
Or what is your personal aspect?
Yeah, sure. Of course, thinking of racism, it's really hard to find positive aspects of that, because normally it ends up to misbehavior, or maybe even cruelty. So mostly it's it has bad aspects or negative aspects rather than positive ones. Of course, because I'm coming from, I don't know if I have to talk in my personal life or my personal experience, but of course where I come from, it's a third world country, and nowadays the main thing that we have around the world racism is mostly between countries which are less developed and countries which are termed as developed countries. And people who are living in developed countries, not all of them, of course, but if you want to say, for example, they are, for example, if you want to point someone and call him or her a racist, that means he or she thinks that, for example, a person coming from a country like my country or another third world country is has less quality than him or her only because he's coming from that country, or only because of his skin color, or only because of his hair color, regardless of his abilities, regardless of his or her culture, regardless of just based on the appearance, just based on his or her appearance, they would judge her or him. And of course, based on that, they would, a racist person would take action and maybe even spread it around and among his siblings. So it's not a good, of course it's not a good term, and it has very bad impacts, and that's why nowadays mostly in European countries and even in United States, they are, I mean, there are lots of communities, they are trying to oppose it, and they are trying to fade it out. As we can see, for example, in American history, like black people, they I can say they did lots of complaints and riots, and they did some kind of revolution, and they somehow forced the white people to accept them as normal society people who are living there. They have their own rights. They have the right to vote. They have the right to live. They have the right to work. And there is no difference between black people and white people, only because their skin color are different. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
So you talked about the differences.
Yeah.
Racism means racist differences between people to you. Have you
No, I'm not
thought
saying,
of different differences, like, you know, for example, the discrimination that happen to people because of their gender, or if they are disabled or non-disabled persons, or if they are old or young, or if they are like heterosexual or homosexual. Do you think that these are another acceptable aspects of racism, or in a better word, discrimination?
Of course, that's it. I mean, that's one of the main, I can say, modern categories of racism or discrimination. Of course, I said, I mean, I didn't say racism means difference. I said it comes from differences between people. And of course, when you use a term like old and young, or a boy and girl, or homosexual and straight, of course these people are different. So, and most of the times the problem is majorities versus minorities. We can see that most of, I mean, through history, whenever we see majorities, their culture, their behavior, their way of thinking, and also their physical appearance, they always, I can say, stop minorities to, I mean, other people to think differently, because they think that, okay, we are living like this, in this way, and most of the people who are living with us, they are living in the same way, so that's the right way. But it may not be the right way, it may be the wrong way, but since most of the people are doing that, majorities are doing that, they think it's true. For example, of course, if you live in a society, majority of people are not handicapped. They're normal people. I mean, they can use their hands, their legs, and all their bodies easily. So, of course, most of the services in a society would be for them, rather than disabled people. But I mean, between healthy people and disabled people, I won't say it's kind of racism, but it could be it could be discrimination. But of course, we can see in developed countries nowadays there are lots of, I mean, everywhere you can see services for disabled people. So somehow I can say only in less developed countries we still have the problem for those people. But of course, as you said, there are variety of several examples and of course the most modern ones are mostly for in around sex and around gender, but nowadays it's still most of the developed countries are accepting it, but of course there are lots of problems all around the world, especially when religion comes to picture. And also the other aspect of it, which is, I mean, example of discrimination which is very old and it's still there, is between men and women, and all during the whole life that we had, the whole history, it existed and it still exists. I mean, and of course it still comes from the differences between men and women, and from this thought that men always think they are more powerful, they are stronger, so they have more rights. That's where racism start to show up, when you think because of your power and because of your maybe strongness you have more right. That's the worst case. I mean, that's where racism starts. And of course, yeah, you can say lots of examples between men and women in different aspects. Yeah, the sex orientations, like being straight, being heterosexual, being homosexual, and also disabled and healthy people. But of course, it's less for those. And of course, between different kind of skin colors, and different cultures. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. No
Thank
problem.
you for your time.
No problem, of course. Would be
Thank
happy
you.
to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.